So we covered FernGully, The Last Rainforest on Load Bearing Beams this week. Please subscribe if you haven't already to Load Bearing Beams to hear Lacey Roth and I dive deep into a different movie every week. FernGully is a movie that I have absolutely no nostalgia for because I couldn't even remember if I'd ever seen it before last week when we covered it on the show, but I actually ended up really appreciating the movie, especially in terms of its animation and what the animators were able to do on such a limited budget and limited resources that they had to work with. So FernGully was a modest hit in theaters, but then a much bigger hit on home video. And because it was the mid-1990s, a straight-to-video sequel was commissioned. And so we got FernGully 2, The Magical Rescue, featuring not a single soul from the first movie. No voice actor, no animator, no writer, no producer, nothing. Nobody came over from the first movie. Here we have it, FernGully 2, The Magical Rescue. And I am a maniac, so I decided, what the hell, I'll check this out. I mean, the running time for one thing is about 67 minutes if you exclude the closing credits. Also, it came with the Blu-ray of FernGully 1, which I ordered, so I wouldn't even have to pay the $4 to rent the damn thing. Why not just go ahead and do it? So, okay, what's the deal with FernGully 2? Well, I already said none of the creative talent came over from the first movie. Nobody's back this time. This movie was produced by a company called Wild Brain, which made a lot of TV advertisements in the 90s and then went on to do some legit work it went on to do non-advertising work like it did the Nick Jr. show Bubble Guppies. And I just mentioned Bubble Guppies because I love looking up these obscure animation companies and then just like going down the list of their credits and seeing like, do I recognize any of this stuff? Oh, okay, I've heard of Bubble Guppies. I am pretty sure my kid watched Bubble Guppies at least one time, like 10 years ago. Okay, so that's probably like one of the biggest shows ever, just based on my own hazy memory. But this movie, FernGully 2, is credited to two directors. The first is Phil Robinson, who was a veteran of Saturday morning kids cartoons from the 80s. Shows like The Flintstone Kids and the new Yogi Bear show. So like not even Saturday morning kids cartoon from the 80s that people still like. But he was probably the most notable credit he has is the supervising animation director on the Back to the Future animated TV series. The other co-director is David Marshall, who worked on much better shows from the 80s and 90s like Mighty Mouse, Ren and Stimpy, Tiny Toons, Animaniacs, Freakazoid, and in recent years he's been working on Adventure Time, Rick and Morty, and Solar Opposites. Okay, so look, I am not here to tell you that FernGully 2 is a secret gem, a hidden masterpiece, an animated masterpiece that people have been sleeping on, but I will say this, as far as straight-to-video slop from the 1990s goes, you can do so much worse than this movie. I'm not saying I enjoy it or that I even recommend it. I'm just saying I've seen so much worse than this. But then maybe even like in terms of what I'm doing with these videos where I examine lesser known animated movies from the 80s and 90s, it's just not as much fun to watch just a kind of solid and competent movie. I'd much rather have an absolute train wreck. And FernGully 2 is not a train wreck. It's not a train wreck at all. And that's principally because of the animation, where you get this very interesting, incongruous mix between, I think, the two animation styles of the two directors who are from different eras and different, totally different models of how to animate. You are getting the crappy 80s kids cartoons that aired on Saturday mornings principally to sell toys, and then you have the much cooler 1990s like Tiny Toons style animation, like stuff you would watch on Kids WB, and it's not coherent at all. It doesn't feel like you're watching the same movie all throughout. It'll just flip back and forth between these two styles, but that makes it kind of interesting, and it definitely makes it fun to look at. FernGully 1, I praised on the podcast for telling the story of a hero who is unique among animated kids films heroes. I'm sure there are other examples, but Crysta was not your typical character who like yearns to get out there into the big world and explore and conquer, yearns for something bigger. I praise the movie for doing that. Like, she is happy to live in FernGully. She loves FernGully. She has no desire to leave. Well, FernGully 2 immediately undermines that and changes that, because while the hero of this movie, no longer Crysta, it is by far the worst character from the first movie, Pips, who was played by Christian Slater in the first one, and here is just played by not Christian Slater. Pips is an absolute drip. We talked about this a lot on the podcast. He has the most boring problem in FernGully 2 of wanting to get out and explore the world beyond the boundaries that he has lived his whole life behind. He wants to go be with humans. He thinks they might have something to offer. And Pips has been elevated to main character status for this movie. You know, it's a Cars 2 scenario. Mater is now the hero of Cars 2. Pips is now the hero of FernGully 2. The movie opens with a very lame song about how cool it is to be like, here in FernGully. Like the first movie, there are a lot of songs, most of them not performed by the characters, which I always find strange in animated movies. Where you'll get a mixture. It's like one thing if you never see characters sing songs, but it's another if most of the time you don't see them sing the songs, but sometimes you do. And that's the case with both of these movies. But Crysta is like doing her magic. At the end of the first movie, she realized she is, you know, the chosen one. She can grow anything at any time. And she's just continuing to grow shit. And Pips, I mean, he kind of accurately is like, big deal. You grew another tree. That's all you ever do. Everybody's like way too excited to see Crysta grow a new tree, but Pips is over it. Okay, so then Batty the Bat comes back. He was played by Robin Williams in the first movie, and here he is not played by Robin Williams. He's played by somebody who's doing a lot of Robin Williams-esque bits. The actor here is named Matt K. Miller, who mostly does anime dubs, but he is trying to do the Robin Williams bits. He'll do a lot of like, survey says, and like, check please. But like, I don't even like those bits when Robin Williams does them. I certainly don't care for the Dollar Tree version. So once again, Batty, I do not care for your presence. But he warns the heroes that humans are returning to FernGully. Interestingly, they never mention the events of the first movie. They never mentioned that Crysta fell in love with a human and that they had to part very sadly at the end of the first movie, but that he is going off to be an advocate, to raise awareness of the plight of the rainforests of Australia. Never is that going well? Have they stopped the plunder and pillaging of the rainforest? Doesn't matter. We're not going to get into that. Humans are coming, and they're coming specifically for a bunch of baby animals that Crysta is obsessed with. So we got a baby kangaroo, we got a smaller baby kangaroo, and we got a baby wombat. Fun fact, wombats are marsupials, and all marsupial babies are called joeys. So all three of these babies are joeys. You can tell your friends that, and they'll be like, you rule for knowing that. So like some poachers show up. We got a tall poacher and a fat poacher. The tall one kind of sounds like Jason Statham. The smaller one kind of sounds like Jason Alexander, though neither of them is. They also have some really vicious dogs, and they kidnap the three joeys. They kidnap them right in front of Crysta, and Krista's like, I guess I'll have to go tell their mother the bad news that her beloved babies have been kidnapped. So she goes and tells the mother the bad news, but we don't see it on screen. We just hear on the soundtrack the wailing agony of the mother of learning that her children are gone. They're going to have to do, though, the titular magical rescue, just like the subtitle of the movie promises us. And the first attempt they make to rescue the babies, they shit the bed. It couldn't go more wrong. They burn down the forest by mistake. I don't even really remember how this happens, but they burn down the goddamn forest, and something you don't want to do. So Crysta at this point has to stay behind in FernGully to use her magic to regrow all the trees. So Pips and his friends, they're going to go off on the magical rescue to go to the land of the humans to rescue the three baby joeys. So like Crysta is basically out of the movie at this point. She has to stay home and clean. Like, you boys go, you have fun. I got it. I'll handle things back home. So Pips and his bug friends, they leave FernGully and they arrive at a carnival where the babies are being held hostage. The poachers are going to be illegally exporting these babies into like the international exotic black market pet trade, but they're going to need to keep them in cages at the carnival until their like ship arrives or whatever. So like Pips and his buddies, they're scouting this carnival, trying to figure out how can they rescue the babies, but then they kind of get sucked into the magic of the carnival. And there's this montage of them like riding the roller coasters and stuff as this song plays, this song whose lyrics are like, it's fun, they're having fun, and fun, and fun is fun, and fun, and fun.
I love this ride. Look out, stop!
Fun is fun at a carnival. Batty is along on the rescue mission too, and he doesn't trust humans. You will recall that in the first movie, his backstory is that he had been experimented on by humans, like at a medical school, to learn like the medical value of torturing a bat. If you electrically shock a bat over and over again, what does that do to it? So he does not care for humans, but he is worried that his friends will be tempted by the many like treats that humans have to offer. All right, the other major characters we have to worry about are a grandfather and granddaughter clown. They are a grandfather and granddaughter clown tandem, like this classic team. The girl clown, her name is Budgie. It's unclear how old she is. Is she a child, a teenager, an adult? Don't know. But she's not able to clown as well as her grandfather can clown, and her grandfather is like, you gotta clown better, Budgie. The grandfather actually kind of sounds like Walter Brennan. I don't know if I can do a Walter Brennan, but he's just like, oh, you gotta work on your clowning, okay? I'm out of here. So she is like moping sadly around. She's not the clown that she wishes she could be. So Pips just decides to just go talk to her. He's like, hey, what's up, clown? And Budgie is not that, she's kind of nonplussed at this like reality bending revelation that fairies exist and they can talk to you. She's like, hey, what's going on? Why are you talking to me? Okay. And he's like, hey, buck her up, have more confidence. You could be a good clown. I'm a good fairy. All right. So she like, because he's helping build up her confidence, she's going to show him more of the wonders of humanity, like watching TV. And so Pips and his friends end up watching a lot of TV. Just watch a lot of TV. They love TV. In fact, they watch so much TV, they forget about their mission of saving the babies. And Batty is like, guys, we're here to save the babies, not watch TV. And they're like, Batty, we'll get to it. We'll save those babies eventually. Speaking of the babies, we check in on the imprisoned babies, and the big baby kangaroo starts singing a song about how like lonely and terrified she is. And then Batty joins in. It becomes sort of a gospel number, and there's actually some really, really solid animation here where it becomes a whole like Busby Berkeley sequence. It honestly, like, it's giving like Animaniacs or Tiny Toons vibes. It's the best thing about the movie is just this little section. But then the babies in their cages, they are loaded onto a truck to be shipped off. And so Budgie, the clown apprentice, jumps onto the back of the truck. She's going to follow them and get those babies out of that truck. And then her clown grandfather sees that she is in peril on that truck. And he's like, I got to go rescue my granddaughter. And he gets into his little clown car and starts chasing. And so there's just a whole big, everything is coalescing around this chase. Crysta, who has not been in the movie since the very beginning, she has like one of those poachers' mean dogs got stranded behind in FernGully, and she has befriended the mean dog, and so she is on a mission to return this dog to his owners. And then she basically, in the course of that, runs into the whole like clown car truck chase, and she's like basically like, oh hey, the movie's happening over there. So she goes and she meets up with Pips, and she's like, how's the whole magical rescue thing going? And he's like, well, it could be going better, so we could use your help. So they persuade their dogs to attack their masters, which they do. We see kind of a violent uprising of animal and fairy against humans, which I appreciate because I feel like the first movie kind of chickened out by not having that. And Avatar, by the way, is a huge improvement over FernGully for doing this. The only solution is to actually literally repel your attackers, not kill them with kindness or whatever. But Crysta and Pips, they save everything by making a giant tree grow in the middle of the river, onto which the shipping freighter gets stuck. It's kind of a cool image. They hug the clown grandfather. They have learned a lesson that, hey, humans, there's some good ones and some bad ones. And I guess the litmus test is like, would you illegally engage in the international exotic pet trade? If so, you're bad. If not, you're good. That's FernGully 2, The Magical Rescue, all 67 minutes of it. I do not recommend the movie, but again, you could do so much worse. I was not miserable watching this, nor was I enjoying how bad it was. It was just fine. But as is the case with every single one of these movies that I talk about, I'm sure there are people out there who loved this movie when they were a kid, and I want to know if you did. When's the last time you watched it? What do you remember about it? How does it hold up now? Let me know. I can't wait to hear from you. Thank you so much.